Okay, let's jump back to living event to event. To what point is it advantageous for people to become self-realized? To what end?
You are all gods.
You believe that?
If you are a co-creator, which you are,
Mm-hmm.
if you are a co-creator and ye are all gods,
Mm-hmm.
what I am you shall be, and even greater things than I have done you shall do. Well, then you have to come to the realization that that's who you are. You are in alignment with the universal maker or universal consciousness or
Yes.
God or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I spoke of you not having free will. When you achieve universal consciousness and you lose the identity of separateness from your maker, then you can have free will to create whatever you want to create. Now you're in alignment with all that is.
This is the Grief Talk Podcast with Vonne Solis, helping you heal after loss and life's hardest hits.
My guest today is Marvin Wilkerson. Marvin has spent 50 years studying spirituality and helping people heal. He's a practitioner of humanistic astrology, hypnotherapy, and NLP, as well as a spiritual coach, blending a deep understanding of the subconscious mind with the insights of quantum physics. Marvin recently released his first book, Soul Fusion Healing, Integrating Mind, Body, and Soul, which weaves together astrology, hypnosis, and spiritual coaching into a genuine path for transformation. Today, he's here to explore how astrology can guide healing and self-awareness, how hypnosis shifts subconscious patterns and deepens spiritual growth, and what it really means to achieve soul integration and heal karmic imprints. He'll also share practical tools for navigating your spiritual path with clarity and unpack something called soul fragmentation and how healing it can lead to a happier, healthier life. So, audience, I am so happy to have you meet Marvin Wilkerson. Marvin, pop in, say hi to my audience.
Hello, audience.
That's it. That's all you need to do. I like people to get a peek at who I'm talking with very early on in the episode. So as I said in the introduction, audience, Marvin has been in spirituality for 50 years. I may or may not say plus, but okay, whatever, Marvin, 50 plus or 50.
Oh, it don't make any difference.
Yeah, we tease about that, and I've been at it 45. So Marvin and I told Marvin we're kindred spirits, and pretty much all I've seen Marvin talk about and and espouse on podcasts and so on is I believe in pretty much the same stuff. So Marvin and I are going to present to you. We're going to learn all about his work in astrology, hypnosis, NLP. I'd love to get your take on stuff like that. Would you say, Marvin, do you have one line of business like astrology? What in your heart, if you could only say you were one thing, what are you in terms of the work that you do?
Oh, goodness sakes. Well, for advertising purposes, I advertise as a hypnotist. There's not people that's going to be looking for a spiritual astrologer.
No.
And of course, NLP is a little bit new to a very lot of people.
Yes.
So with all my tools, I would submit that I would fall much more under the category of hypnosis, but I use a lot of tools.
So the other thing I wanted to get off early in the gate here is you have recently published your first book, Soul Fusion Healing, Integrating Mind, Body, and Soul. And so what I actually kind of got from looking at your website and how you describe things, and I agree with this, is that we have to heal mind, body, and soul. We must not forget about the soul. And I think that healing mind and healing body are so integrated. I think a lot of people are sort of understanding that more now, for sure. But I don't meet a lot of people that talk so much about soul, Marvin. And I think that is such a key piece to understanding our incarnation and why stuff happens to us. And I want you to take it away because I want to be talking about how I think you called it humanistic astrology. You do?
I'm getting ready to change my website to encompass everything that I do.
Okay.
And I call it therapeutic astrology. It's spiritual because spiritual aligns itself too much around religion. And I use it as a therapy, and astrology really is very, very therapeutic when you've mastered the art.
Mm-hmm.
It's and then of course hypnosis is dealing with the subconscious, which is where you're going to reach the level of soul. And of course NLP is the ability to tap into the creative side of the subconscious mind. And of course I'm like Einstein. There's there's only two truths: math and philosophy. Mm-hmm. My philosophy is very metaphysical and very spiritual aligned. Mm-hmm. So, I use all of those in a session with a client, no matter what they come in with.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk about astrology first. Audience, we're going to be talking about astrology. We are going to be talking about NLP, but we're also really important going to be talking about the subconscious programming. And that is such a key piece. It is such a key piece, Marvin. And so those are the three areas I want to be talking about from your perspective. So let's jump in. How do you actually, I know how astrologers work, but how do you actually view astrology as therapeutic? Let's start with that. And you say that it, guides people to healing and self-awareness. In the early days, decades ago, didn't people just sort of, and even to some extent today, don't people want an astrology chart done to see their future? I mean, so
that's unfortunately that's how it's broken down.
Right.
People want to know, one of my teachers used to say, when am I going to get my Winnebago, or when am I going to find my next boyfriend?
Right.
I wouldn't even entertain talking to somebody like that.
Let me ask you this. So let's be specific. Who's your ideal client? How do you approach astrology if you want it more therapeutic, spiritual, and towards guiding them to self-awareness and hence healing? How do you do that?
Astrology is a map of energy, and then the map of energy. As an astrologer, I read those planetary energies as a gestalt, as a total person, and that then helps me to help people understand how to use that energy to their best advantage and to what their soul's purpose is in this lifetime, and how to accomplish that. And the conflicts are usually going to run in alignment with following old patterns and conditioning. I call that, perceptions and perspectives of past lives that you still hold in this one that need to be corrected. And so when you use energy in a incorrect manner, it usually causes a conflict. If you use energy in a way that's going on an old pattern that you've followed in other lifetimes, it always causes a conflict. So my objective for the clients is to help them understand their conflicts and why they're having them. And I'm usually going to find that in their conditioning and their programming from early childhood, because that's where that programming is going to show up, is in the family and in the parents and the programmers. So everybody will go through the conditioning and programming that is going to align with their perspective and perceptions that are in error, so that programming is then going to manifest as adults and you trying to be you trying to make an adjustment to what you were taught to come more in alignment with your authenticity and who you are to achieve your authentic self and self-realization. And so the patterns of early life are the patterns that are teaching you that are they were limiting, they were painful. So you're going to live most of your adult life trying to become or be what you didn't get as a child.
Makes sense. So let me ask you this. I'm going to break it down a little bit. So a client comes to you, you've never worked with them before, and it is important that they know their time of birth, right? How important? Well, let me ask you this. How important is it that they remember their time of birth?
It's not.
It's not. Oh, okay. I told Marvin I want to have a reading with him, and I can't remember my time of birth anymore. But I actually do think I know it, as I said. Okay, so you look at the chart. So when you go like a full chart, do you go back and can you see what they've experienced or the influences, astrological influences in their childhood, right through to the age they currently are and probably and on into the future? Does that help you understand what they have dealt with in their childhood traumas and issues? Or do you work with them further using, say, hypnosis and NLP to determine all the nuts and bolts of that?
No. I can read a chart and tell you who your mother was, who your father was, who your brothers and sisters are, your aunts and uncles.
Really?
I can tell you everybody that was a programmer, how you were programmed and what you were programmed with. What you didn't get, what was the pain in your life that you had that you wasn't able to accomplish. And so it tells me where your Achilles heel is, which then helps me to understand who you really are. And then when you tell me what's going on in your life, I can tell you why it's going on and what's the purpose.
Wow. Okay, I got to ask you this. I have two questions. One is, I've talked to other people who do a little astrology, but not like that wasn't their career, astrologer. But you have to be mathematical, right? And enjoy math to do astrology. Is that correct? Everyone says you do. You kind of have to have that brain that needs to be mathematical.
I mean, well, I'll quote Einstein. There's only two truths, math and philosophy.
Okay, love it. I don't know if I would like it. I wasn't drawn to studying the planets and charts and things like that. But I've been going for astrology on and off since I was 25 maybe, with a lot of accuracy. Sometimes things were said to me, and I was in that cohort that was going to astrology largely because this is how it has been offered for decades. And you're probably a lone wolf in kind of doing therapeutic astrology. And your approach. To me, I haven't heard of or met another astrologer doing that. So I wanted to find out how you got into astrology. And I know, I'll ask you this. Were you always sort of doing astrology on the side if you were in corporate America working, or did you make this line of work your career all through your adult life?
I got my first reading when I was 18 years old.
Okay.
And from an English a woman. And, it was just fascinating to me how she knew so much about me and didn't know me. I mean, I'm like anybody that starts out. I mean, you start out learning sun sign astrology, and then you ask people, which one they are, and you kind of play with that for a little while or a few years, and then you start getting a little more interested, and it just starts to unfold. Yeah. And then, of course, I mean, when you get into some of the famous astrologers throughout our time. I mean, Carl Jung, for astrologers, Dane Rudhyar was the Carl Jung of astrology. And of course, then you get into people like Jeff Green and so many others. Liz Green was a Jungian psychologist from England. They wrote a lot of books. So, I mean, when you really get serious about studying astrology, there's very serious people out there that you educate with. And so, I mean, I've been to several of the biggest conferences in the world and learned from all the biggest teachers that you can imagine.
Yeah. Well, I believe that we all have a gift for something to offer and serve to others if we choose to find it. And so what we all offer in our respective areas, I think we just naturally good at it. And you kind of go, oh, okay. So, I mean, if you hate it and you're not good at it, you're not going to pursue and become almost a master at it, or just really where you want to do it for decades and whatever. But I am just curious, was it that first reading you had that kind of went, I'm kind of interested? Or were you a kid that loved to look at the stars and planets?
I was more interested in the symbolism and what it all meant.
Symbolism, but there you go. So symbolism. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. That would be another podcast episode. Symbolism, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to ask, so your ideal client today, somebody contacts you, fills out your form online, so I want a reading, Marvin, but, and you said you're not interested in people that just want to know what's going to happen and when they're going to buy their, next vehicle or, the sailboat or whatever, make more money. So what should, in your approach, an individual be wanting to learn from you? What should they be looking for? And what kind of astrology you offer for them? Is it a one-time reading? Do you do a life reading? I saw that you could book something in the 3s.
I much prefer a soul reading, what your soul is trying to accomplish. And of course, I can break down a chart in many, many different ways.
Yeah.
As a chart can be constructed to where it has information for months and months and months about your life. And of course, my spiritual teacher was an astrologer. And so, I studied Native Americanism in the 90s and worked with the shamanism and worked with Native American medicine wheels and so on. So astrology is very in depth. Typically, when I do just a simple astrology reading, which I don't do simple, but it's typically an hour and a half, and I tell them the outline of what their soul's purpose is and what they're trying to accomplish, and touch on their Saturn problems and what they're trying to manifest in their life as far as becoming something more than what they are.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's really a complete package in my estimation. So only knowing my own experience going back to, 40 odd years ago, 45, whatever years ago, when I probably did my first. I worked with someone whose husband was a well-known astrologer in Vancouver. I'm in Canada. I live on Vancouver Island. And at that time, I don't know if he's still around, but he was really, really, really good. But, he had predictions, well, I would say going to today in my life. I didn't understand them, but he knew certain things, big things, I would struggle with, but not why. So I do have a question. As I said to Marvin prior to hitting record, I lost my daughter to suicide when she was 22, 21 years ago, in 5 days from now. So we're recording this July 21st. So July 26th is her 21st anniversary. And it's a really weird feeling to know next year she's going to be gone as long as she lived. But anyway, so I knew that when I thought about that astrology chart when I was in my 20s, yeah, that's the reason for some of the big things that John, his name was John Rutherford, that he actually was able to tell me, but not the why. And so you kind of take that information, and when you're 24 or 25, oh, okay, but then it's kind of always like, Anyway, it was always in the back of my mind, but not obsessing. But what I really like, and back then we weren't talking, I mean, I wasn't. I mean, I knew about soul and things like that, but I wasn't going for soul reading to an astrologer. I was going to get my chart done to see what was going to happen in the immediate to midterm future, which I think most people are. So you adding that piece into it, a soul reading, holy, like that's amazing. What about those of us though? So that's perfect for someone who like does not have a clue what they're here to do. And my experience is I've met a lot of people that just don't know what they're here to do. And it's the most frustrating thing to try and find your purpose, even let alone your passions. You know, I mean, that's a toughie. And I'm certain you run across people like that haven't connected to it from a major experience or a passion since they were a kid, or sometimes kids come in and they just know what they're here to do, you know, and we're getting a lot more of those in today's, you know, young people. So for the person that, though, is tuned in to their reason for being, their purpose work, would the astrology just confirm that for them? And then you can go more in depth to kind of go, well, here, there's still this piece that you could be working on. Or did you think of this piece? Like, you know, because I do go to people for help when I want to learn something that I obviously don't do myself. So do you do sort of like, well, this person, yeah, I can see that they've already accomplished a lot that I can see from their early chart, and now, but still see kind of where they're at and give us tools to kind of manage things, or like I said, think about, because I know there's more I can do in my life and I'm not the only one, you know? So how do you deal with that? The person who is fairly in tune with their path, their purpose, but still there's the unknown, right?
You know, life is an evolutionary process.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's plenty of energies of transformation,
Mm-hmm.
plenty of energies of challenge,
Mm-hmm.
plenty of energies of bringing out your future self,
Mm-hmm.
energy around expansion and growth in your life.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of ways that, you know, you unfold just a typical conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all an evolutionary process. Who you are today is not who you're going to be in 20 years.
I
You're not
know.
going to be in 10 years. You're not going
I
to be
know.
in 30 years.
I
So
know.
whether you think you know what's going on now, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But there is still there's still energies that's running around causing a little bit of conflict and challenge
Yep.
that most of us are going to recognize in our lives,
Yep.
that I can help straighten out and help understand why you're experiencing.
Yeah. Okay. I have two questions. I'll ask them separately. The first one is, you spoke a few minutes ago about the chart, the soul reading. The chart can determine the type of energy we came into the life with, the incarnation with. So I wanted to clarify that a little bit. So do we all have energy influences set at birth, even before birth, actually, in utero, based on the exact moment we're born in all of those stars and planet positions? Do we already have energy influences, and how much can we, I don't necessarily want to say change them, but if you're born into severe toxicity and dysfunction, a lot of us were, I'm going to ask, are there some astrological influences that would have been at play that we perhaps chose to have that life under those astrological influences? But we can't go back to being a kid and change them. All we can do is understand them as adults and go, oh, well, I want to get rid of that energy now. So am I hearing from you that unless we actually are aware enough to know that, and that we can change or alter it as an adult, is that something that most people would struggle with, and we can get rid of those influences from childhood that are lingering? Or patterns, maybe I should say energy patterns or something. You know what I mean?
There's nothing to get rid of.
Oh, well then what are we doing?
where you're making adjustments to how you operate and perceive the energy that you have in your chart. You come in with talents, tools, and abilities. You also come in with the challenges to grow and evolve into self-realization.
Mm-hmm.
And time, there is no such thing as time. When you eliminate time and space, well, then there's only one thing, and that's right now. And that's all there is. And so what you're doing is you're adjusting to the energy that is now. And if you are going with ease with it, well, then you're not going to ask me a conflicting question. You're going to ask me about, your conflicts, your struggles, or what's causing you more problems or issues. I mean, and people, sometimes they don't think it's significant. I mean, I've got a client that I've talked to for 2 years. I've been looking at her chart and knowing that there's something going on in her personal relationship and marriage.
Yep.
And it was more or less playing out in her corporate career.
Mm-hmm.
And so we dealt with a lot of her corporate career and how she was getting along with people and so on. And then all of a sudden I was blindsided last month when I've said many times, how is your relationship with your husband? Oh, that's fine. It's great. I love my family.
Yeah.
I don't have any problems there. And then I'm blindsided last month because she has a problem with her family, her husband.
Yeah.
And so now we're talking about the conflicts with the most intimate relationship was the most important relationship in your life. So that's the kind of thing that kind of goes on with everybody. We're in self-denial until we aren't.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, here's the words, and the key points for me are making adjustments to our life. That is a really great way of thinking about just making adjustments. It doesn't matter. I'm going to ask you, does it matter what kind of energy we were influenced by when we were born astrologically and all that you can see and all our childhood problems? And for those out there that think they had beautiful childhoods, and maybe they did have beautiful childhoods, we're all here to still learn something somewhere, somehow, and a chart's going to help you see that, right? So the question is, or the confirmation for me is that the energy that was part of an earlier time, even yesterday in our lives, doesn't really matter. What do we want to do? Just keep adjusting to the type of energy that feels positive, fulfilling, like every single day. Like, can you speak to that about these adjustments a little more?
Well,
like if all we have is right now, right? You get what I'm saying?
See, this is the deal. If you're coming in and you're struggling with a certain kind of energy, well, you can say, oh, well, I fixed that. Well, the universe and evolutionary journey has a way of bumping up the complications to how we use energy.
Okay.
So you may use energy in one way, but as you get older, that energy is going to be used in another way to help you continue to learn that evolutionary process and how to better use that energy from a pure state, not from a state of how you were programmed and conditioned. So it's never, you're never getting rid of energy. You're never getting rid of how you were raised and born. That was all mapped out and planned out, and it's all in perfection.
Yeah.
There's nothing to, it's not that you're changing anything. It's not that you can change anything. You're going to experience an event one of two ways. You're going to experience it with a conflict and frustration, or you're going to experience it with an attitude of acceptance and opportunity.
Yeah.
So there's only, everybody talks about free will.
Yeah.
The truth is you don't have free will.
Okay, well, let's talk. Yeah.
What you have is the ability to choose an attitude of how you're going to experience one event to the next event. And then you have the ability to use your creativity any way you choose. Now, that is the limit to your free will. You do not have the free will to change events in your life. You do not have the free will to make choices that aren't a part of your soul's path. So you're going to experience what you experience, and your will comes in, and your ability to choose how you want to perceive it. What kind of attitude do you want to take to the experience and the event? So likewise, I tell people, live event to event. Quit living is thinking that you're in charge, because you're not. Your soul group is in charge. Your whole desire mechanism comes from your soul group. It does not come from you. So when you think of desire, you're following the path of what you need to follow to evolve in accordance to what your soul is trying to help you understand.
Yeah.
And help you to become more self-realized, more authentic. And so self-realization is the reason for every single human being living on the planet. And who's going to be guiding you? Your soul.
Mm-hmm.
And your soul is using desire to help you experience certain events so that you learn and grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not about just changing energy or changing your paths.
Yeah.
Because you can't do that.
Okay, let's jump back to event, living event to event. I'm processing what you're saying, okay? And so I'm going, okay, so my first question for you was going to be regarding what you just said. To what point, I know the answer for me, but I'm just curious for you, to what point is it advantageous for people to become self-realized? To what purpose and to what end?
You're all God's.
You believe that?
If you are a co-creator, which you are,
Mm-hmm.
if you are a co-creator and ye are all God's,
Mm-hmm.
what I am you shall be, and even greater things than I have done you shall do. Well, then you have to come to the realization that that's who you are. You are in alignment with the universal maker or universal consciousness or
Yes.
God or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So that is the point to everybody's journey,
Mm-hmm.
is to come to that realization and alignment.
Yeah.
Now, I spoke of you not having free will. When you achieve universal consciousness and you lose the identity of separateness from your maker, then you can have free will. Then you can have free will to create whatever you want to create, because now you're in alignment with all that is.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple things here. And I'm thinking of the audience here. So, how can people recognize a soul group that they belong to? I have my own ideas on it, but what are your thoughts on how you can recognize what soul group? In fact, do you believe there are different types of soul groups?
Well, certainly everybody belongs to a different type of soul group or classification of a soul group. But I mean, everybody in your life, Edgar Casey said it best. I mean, your chances of meeting somebody new in a lifetime
Mm-hmm.
is very, 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 very slight. You may meet one new person in your life that you have not known. One and two at the most. And when you do meet them, it's like something brand spanking new showing up in your life. And it's like exciting and um, full of inspiration and joy.
Just to clarify, Marvin, for the audience, you're talking about recognition from eons of lifetimes, our past, like our conscious connection. That we're not talking about, like, you audience might think, oh, I just met someone today, but you've known them in many lifetimes, probably in different roles. As that just, you can clarify that, right? So people don't go, I'm going to meet new people. Yeah, okay, that's it. So there's a recognition. Yeah.
You have a life plan.
Yes.
Every single aspect of your life has been planned out. Every person, every event, every situation has already been planned out, and you're going to live that plan.
Yeah.
Period. End of story.
Yeah. So I get all that. I get it, and I don't know. Actually, I've never heard anyone, and I really haven't even thought about it too much. When you say it's unlikely we would meet one, let alone two individuals in human form that we know from energy, consciousness, energy, whatever you want to call it. How would you recognize? Has that happened to you? And how did you recognize they were so new? You'd never met them before. I don't think it's happened.
That I have ever met anybody that I haven't somehow had a sense of prior to knowing.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I don't think I have, but I have met and recognized people that I've recognized them very, very quickly, and we know each other. And some of them have been children. And it's been wonderful. It's been absolutely wonderful. And that's what sparks a curiosity audience. There will be some watching this, listening to this, that are new, and it might be a lot for them to take in. And then for those people, I would encourage you to explore, start your journey and go on a great adventure that will last your entire lifetime to explore more of these topics, soul and groups and things like that. And there's all kinds of practitioners out there that do past life recall and things like that. But today we're talking about doing it from an astrological point of view. And so a person can come, you can get a chart with you, have one or more done, but whatever, see that soul thing. You can see things that they will have not know for themselves. Some may have an inclination. Yep, that makes sense. I have a lot of experiences that are lining up with what you're seeing in the chart. But it's the adjusting the energy piece that I'm picking up on for me and going, I could probably benefit from that. I really could, because I'm getting from you, correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously we can't change the past, but when I'm talking about energy, I'm talking about energy now. I came in with a certain energy. You came in with a certain energy. We're not going to change that, but it sounds like unless we become aware of what it actually is, what that energy is, and we might be changing our behaviors, habits over the years and in different chapters of our lives to deal with it. But in order to really adjust, you need to know what you got to adjust. You need to really know what kind of energy that is, right?
Well, when you're doing something that's causing pain, and struggle, then obviously you need to change something up.
Right, but a lot of people would find it easier to blame someone else or something else for their hardships. So this is all about, having a tool that you provide to help people take responsibility for their life and go kind of, well, this is cool. I always take the approach, geez, it's really interesting what I chose. I literally do that, and I've done it for decades. So people that are interested just to get the basics of it. And yes, you can offer more, but just to get them started, go, wow, wow, wow. Like a lot of people are mad at their parents. We've got a huge, I don't know if it's an epidemic, but we certainly have a culture now of estrangement. Dump the parents. If you thought they're toxic, dump them. And much more minimally, we'll have a parent that needs to sever a relationship with an adult child, say. But there's a lot of the estrangement. We've had it in our family. And you just don't know what, and then their attitude is and getting, either therapy or encouragement from anything that feels toxic for you. And I think this is post-pandemic myself. Cut the ties. And a lot of parents haven't even had the opportunity to go, hey, what did I do? And now you can say, get your chart done with Marvin. Take responsibility for your actions, and then we'll talk, okay? It's not on my side, on my husband's side that he's experienced this, and I'm not making light of it. And for those, it's a very painful thing. But this is a tool, a resource and some tools that you provide to get people into taking responsibility for themselves and their adjustments and how they're going to, as you said it yourself, choose to react. I think you said react to our events that you are saying also, Marvin. They're written in the stars, and we have no way to alter the events that may be coming up for us that our charts will show us, but you as an astrologer may not wish to tell people the events that you can see in their future. Is that a fair statement? What's your obligation?
I don't typically look for events that they can't handle.
Oh.
Because, if they can't handle it, and if it's in the future, what is the point?
Right.
Yesterday is gone, tomorrow isn't here, and you don't have the information. So why don't you just stay in the moment is what I teach. Stay in the moment, deal with your events, deal with it in front of you, because that's all you can change. And the thing about it is you're healing in the moment.
Yeah.
You can heal not only yourself, but you can heal your ancestors behind you and in front of you.
Yeah.
And so, everything, if you have a physical problem, there's an emotional component.
Yeah.
So I'm working with emotional components of now. What's in front of you now? And then that can give a great explanation of what energies or what programming that you are still following or hanging on to.
Yeah. I love that. All right. So I got to turn to your book, Soul Fusion Healing, Integrating Mind, Body, and Soul. It is on Kindle, right? And elsewhere for people to purchase, right? But can you tell us a little bit about what you've included in that book? What are people who are going to pick that book up, read your book? What are the key messages that you want for them? What are they going to learn from that book?
Everything that I've ever worked with or studied is in that book.
Yeah.
My whole career is in that book.
Wow.
And then I break it down into the greater conflicts that people have. One that comes to mind is self-talk. Self-talk is the most abusive thing that we do to ourselves.
Yes.
And we get self-talk from conditioning and programming of our early life. I'm working with a gay man now and he's 67 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got anxieties to the point where he can barely leave the house and he can't participate.
Oh.
And so when I did a parent-child technique on him, we went back to his 4 and 5 year old and earlier and discovered that it was his insecurities about discovering as a young child at 4 or 5 that he had a tingling feeling when he looked in the Sears catalog of seeing men in their underwear. And then he was abused through school. And so that difference, I'm feeling different. I'm feeling awkward. I'm feeling less than what boys and men should feel. Yeah. And that's followed him through 67 years.
All of which would have been taught in condition. He would be educated with that, taught and felt and conditioned by the beliefs of his immediate family, community, everything, possibly even church, whatever. What a horrible thing to have to live with. But he's probably an example of one of tens of millions of people dealing with something. Maybe not the same, maybe the same, but whatever it is, who cares what the issue is? We are so limited by what has shaped us in our very earliest years. And it does have to be undone, audience, right? It has to be undone. There are many tools to work with to undo the stuff, but you have to be willing to look within. Right, Marvin? You got to start somewhere and take responsibility, right?
You have to undo the self-talk. That's the point. So to undo his self-talk, he had to understand why his insecurities and fears kept manifesting throughout different events in his life. And at 67, I told him, isn't it wonderful here? You arrive at 67 years old, and now the world is moving towards acceptance and equality.
Yes.
But you not only don't have to hold on to that old programming and that old conditioning,
right,
but you have to start looking at yourself as not being defined by that old programming and conditioning. Right. And now you can redefine yourself as how you authentically feel. Yeah. There is no embarrassment about how you feel. Feelings are the only truth. Now you can feel free. You can feel your individual self. You can be who you are, and without being ostracized by your own mind and your own self-talk and other people.
Now, where does the NLP for you, the hypnosis and NLP, how do you work with that with people? What do you want people to know about NLP and hypnosis?
Well, the hypnosis is how I took him into these earlier stages of life. So what we're looking for in hypnosis is initial sensitizing events. Mm-hmm. Where did that energy come from? Because he's still carrying the energy in his chest. Mm-hmm. We all carry the conflict of an energy within us. Mm-hmm. And so when you start exploring that energy and where it initially started being programmed and conditioned, well, then now you can understand your inner child is always with you, and it's no reason to use your 6-year-old belief and understanding at 60 years old.
I agree. You can bet we're all hanging on to something from childhood, right?
Oh, yeah.
God. Anyway, here's a question for you. In the hypnosis, I just recently had she's a bereaved mom, actually, and lost her only child. So we really connected on that. But she's been in NLP and hypnosis for 40 odd years. Anyway, so we did a little segment on my show, and I'm not asking you to do that. I don't need to, but she has designed a program in the language in NLP that feeds the subconscious to change the thoughts and beliefs. But where she's really great is getting rid of PTSD, like changing triggers and things like that. But at any rate, we had a good laugh because we were talking about how when she was speaking of hypnosis, it was not the pendulum swing. And look into my eyes. So do you have your own technique to create a state of hypnosis? Because Yvonne was saying you could, when you're in hypnosis, when you're watching TV, when you're reading a book, like when you're driving. And so what's your view of hypnosis, and do you have a tool to bring people into a state to get them to have those memories that many of us have probably blocked?
Anytime that you leave the critical analytical conscious mind, that's an evaluating mind. Yeah. The subconscious mind becomes more dominant. So what you're trying to do is bypass the analytical mind. Yeah. Because the subconscious mind does not analyze and it doesn't use language. Yeah. So it's nothing more. Hypnosis is really basically just relaxation so that the body and your conscious mind relax. The relationship between your conscious mind and your body is as one. So when you relax the body, you relax the mind, and now you're in a subconscious state
Yeah.
what we call a suggestibility state.
Mm-hmm.
And when the subconscious mind sees an alternative way of seeing something,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to remap the neurotransmitters in your brain so that you choose an alternative way of responding to something
Mm-hmm.
instead of responding to it from a place that creates pain.
Right. So people, the reason I'm talking about this is because a lot of us block memories, specific memories. Otherwise, some tragic events happen to us that changes what we're thinking about and things like that. So my understanding is, and my belief is, though, that working with someone who is a professional in this, such as yourself or anyone else in NLP hypnosis, we can all remember things, even in utero. Like you can go back and be tuned into things because it's really touching that subconscious piece of our thinking, the subconscious place. Am I right? That's correct, right?
Oh, yeah. The subconscious forgets nothing.
Right. And I also think it's really being willing to want to change something about ourselves and to get rid of things and get rid of pain. And when I say get rid of, but heal. Let's just say, let me rephrase that, to heal from our pain, heal from our experiences, stop being the way we are, stop with the toxic stuff, the patterns. So let's quickly turn to subconscious patterns. How can people kind of recognize that they're in a loop of major subconscious, patterns, self-talk, things that conditioning. And you might say, well, things aren't working for them. Yeah, but I'm going a step further because there are a lot of people that are also very comfortable and maybe get sympathy when things aren't working for them. Or they're just really too lazy to look at themselves. So, I'm going to wager that those aren't your ideal clients. Like we need to be in a state where you kind of recognize at least you don't want something anymore. You and I would both sit here and encourage people to become self-aware and, as you say, to get on that path of self-realization, but put in a very gentle way. Would you say it's just, if you want to stop something negative in your life or want more and it's not manifesting for you, then fill in the blank. What do they do?
Your conscious mind is manifested in the body. So if you're manifesting a pain, if you're manifesting suffering, you're manifesting an illness, there's a reason.
Yeah.
And that reason needs to be looked at and evaluated to what is the belief, and that's the key. What is the belief that holds on to the pain and the struggle and the conflict in your life? And so I think that's the better way to look at it. James Hillman, the great psychologist, said to be sane, you must recognize our beliefs as fictions. And when somebody tells you something, well, what they're telling you is from their own private holodeck.
Yeah, I know. Wow. It's so, on the one hand, I've said this to guests before, certain guests, it's so easy and yet it's so difficult. People make it so difficult. So, but I just think it's a journey of being curious about yourself. If you don't know where to start, audience, it's really, one approach can just be, why do I do that? Why am I this way? Turn it into full introspection instead of worrying about the other person in your relationship or the situation you're in or all the things that are conditioning you that are outside of yourself. No, self-realization must come from looking within. And for some of us, it happens, not me, but it really, compounded, expanded my search for, what I needed to do for my spiritual truth after my daughter died. But I was already on this path, from my early 20s. I was curious, you see. I was curious. I would look out the window as a kid and go, there's got to be more, there's got to be more, there's got to be more. And the dysfunction, I'll be a good client for you, Marvin. The dysfunction didn't specifically consciously shape me. So in other words, I didn't hold my mom and dad responsible for how they raised us, what happened. It was major dysfunction. Would I raise my kids that way? No. I'm sure my mom had postpartum depression that wasn't diagnosed, almost 70 years ago. There were some hardships, et cetera, et cetera. So we're not living today the same way we were living back several decades ago. But I never consciously went, well, my life sucks because of my mom and dad. My life sucks because of, name your poison, name your person. So it's to get out of that mindset. And that's when you can start to really, really think about what you believe, why you believe it, and whether or not you want to continue to believe it, because we can change our beliefs, right, Marvin?
Oh, yeah. Whatever you choose to believe, that's part of your attitude.
What is your take on let's just call it manifestation? I don't know if it's changed for younger generations and they call it something else, but creating your reality in terms of, we were talking earlier about how a lot of people would be tempted to want to go and get an astrology chart because they really want to know when the money's coming and the job is going to be offered, etc. So essentially, what is your take on how things start to flow to us? What needs to change within to see that how easy manifestation really is?
Well, are you following your guidance, which comes from your feelings and intuition?
Mm-hmm.
Your thinking mind creates 5% of your reality. Your subconscious creates 95% of your reality, and it doesn't use language. So, in other words, what we're all doing is using a language that we were programmed with, and then we've got to say, is this language helping me understand, and is it aligning up with my feelings? So if self-talk will typically or always not feel right. It won't feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, well, then you reject the thinking. You don't reject the feeling. Now, if it becomes an emotion, that means you're holding on to that experience and it's affecting you emotionally, which is now physically affecting you. And so why are you holding on to something of yesterday when there's only now? And so when we're using language that locks us into our past or holds us into our past, when we're using a language that doesn't feel good, that makes us feel bad, then that's a pretty daggone good indicator that you're repeating and holding on to a pattern and conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, we could talk forever and we can't, but I want to touch on some of these things because I'm going to think that you have written all of these things in your book, right? Soul Fusion Healing. So somebody who had zero introduction to spirituality or bigger thinking, even just, more self-awareness. If they're starting from a place of zero self-awareness, but they have the self-awareness to know they want it, your book helps them and takes them through a journey, right?
Yes. And, I go step by step, and I use a lot of quotes from very enlightened people to bridge modern thought with the thoughts of antiquity of very enlightened people from the past, from Jesus to Buddha to Lao to Marcus Aurelius to so many people.
Yeah, that's
Walter
nice.
Russell. So I use a lot of quotes to help people understand. It's just not my voice. It's the voice of enlightenment and self-realized people down through the ages. Buddha. I mean, Buddha said, if you want to know the present, look at the past. If you want to know the future, look at the present. So basically, there's only one moment in time. There is nothing else.
Yeah, I know. It's a concept, though. Number one, all of us, even those of us that kind of, are more seasoned in it, I have to keep reminding myself that. And and I'm just going to say, all of these tools, people, that you find with any spiritual instructor, practitioner, whatever you want, and explore lots of them because they all aid. But in the end, just about everyone says the same thing, just in a different way. And you just have to be responsible for what you're here doing. And when you figure out, when you know the why, everything falls into place. And for those who might be watching this who are bereaved, I want to just say, Marvin, that hearing you is refreshing, and because sometimes we can lose our identity. Often we lose our step, our step, we fall. We have to rebuild ourselves after tragedy. So because this is the Grief Talk podcast, I don't want to forget my people who are going through experiences that think everything is very, very difficult, and they have been absolutely hard done by situations. I don't say that lightly to anyone who's lost a child, lost another significant loved one, where it's totally, taken them down, and you do have to rebuild. And that is why I do the podcast, and that is why I have people on who I can learn from, or whom I can learn from, and I do. But I take the interest, and then I invest if I want to invest finances, time, energy, so on. I am very discerning who I do that for me, as we all are, but it's going to be worth it. And so I know, Marvin, what you're saying, it's a good reminder, and you've already taught me some things on our time together today. So thank you for that. And I will check out your book. I didn't have a copy of it before we met today. And so I just wanted to sort of, see you and talk to you and, hear your messaging. And it's just refreshing for me. It's a reminder for me, because things do creep up on us. We do have triggers. We have all kinds of things, but ultimately it's up to us if we want to adjust. I love that. I'll be thinking of it. I got to adjust my energy when day-to-day stuff bugs me, because it's not what I'm doing. Of course, it's always someone else. I'm just teasing. But by saying it, like changing the way we're going to adjust, the way we're going to react to our events, that's another piece that you brought to our time together. And most people would shudder at the word events, because we consider death an event, we consider wedding an event, we consider birth an event, and there's I don't know what other events. Actually, before we close this out, do you have a definition yourself that you would describe what an event could be for someone?
Well, an event is something that triggers you emotionally, or a very deep feeling.
Okay.
And then you need to process through it. I'm always telling clients, I may tell you a truth, but it's got to be practiced. It doesn't, you don't fully embody a truth until you work at it to walk the talk or throw it away, which is what my teacher told me.
Yeah. Okay. Let's close this off. How do you want to explain healing soul fragmentation, Marvin? What it is?
Anytime that you go through a deeply emotional event, whether that be a sickness or a surgery, or anger,
Okay.
or anytime you leave your sense of individuality and authenticity, you're fragmenting a part of your character. And that fragmentation can come in a multitude of ways. And then you have to learn how to deal with it, to reincorporate that fragment. And so, yes, I talk about it in the book, because there's emotional effects, psychological effects, spiritual effects, body effects, chronic fatigue, energy leaks with people, disconnect from your maker. There's just a sense of dissociation, of not wanting to look at something. If you have an event in your life and you don't want to look at it, well, then there's got to be a fragmented part of you that's going to be looking at it, or going to be separated from your consciousness so that you don't think about it. And so there's all kinds of addictions, fragmentation. Anything that's self-sabotaging is fragmentation. So we're all fragmented in a multitude of ways that affect us as our basic character and sense of who we really truly are.
Yeah, so that's good. So I'm thinking of it in terms of anything that's out of balance, out of whack, anything we're struggling with, all the things you just listed, that is soul fragmentation. And then the whole notion of mind, body, soul healing is to, as we talked earlier at the beginning of this, to align with our oneness to that power, that consciousness, God, whatever a person wants to call it, but what is greater than us, but unifies all of us as one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. So, all right. Well, Marvin, I feel like our time has sped by. Did I ask everything for me? I did, but is there anything I didn't get to that you'd like to leave the audience with as we close this out?
Live your excitement, follow your passion, and let go of the outcome.
Yeah. Really quickly, and then I'm going to also talk about your resources and your website and stuff. When you say live with excitement, I can hear people go, yeah, sure, buddy. Sure. I can't get excited about anything. So again, just to round this out, what can people think of that could get them excited? And by the way, I just want to say, I think this is also post-pandemic stuff. Seeing so much almost despair, disinterest, detachment. Like, I don't see a lot of excited people, okay? Like, yeah, I'm loving my life. Maybe you do. But I'm just saying, and when you read stuff about, the upcoming generations, they, have some despair to them. Kids are moving home, don't have enough money, all the stuff. So how can we literally think of one or two just little things to give us that spark? Because I believe as soon as we have a spark, we can turn it into a flame, and we can turn that flame man into a fire.
Well, if everything is a creation of your own making, and it makes you feel good, or even if it makes you feel bad, that gives you an opportunity to learn what it's trying to teach you. So if you take responsibility for whatever you're creating, well, then that's exciting, whether it seems to be a good thing or a bad thing. But it's giving you an opportunity. And so whatever faces you at any one moment in time, whether it be something that you're creating or something that that feels like it's painful, that's an opportunity. Learn from it, grow from it, and that's living your excitement.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm going to remember, audience, we can be excited by what we are creating. Yes. And be proud of ourselves, and, whatever. Marv, do you want to just actually, I know you got a couple of websites going. You want to just give the names of the websites for folks? I'm going to have links in the show notes so they can go and check out your work. And also, is it still that if we want to book a soul reading with you, astrology chart, we can do a form online or call you and book that way as well, right?
Yes. So you can get to my website, soulfusionhealing.com, and that bridges together my book, my astrology, and my hypnosis.
Okay.
And if you want to reach me, I'm also at blhypnosis.com.
Okay.
And I am at astromarv.com. And if you put Marvin in front of any of those websites, you can reach me through email and book an appointment through Zoom or however.
Yeah. Okay. Well, also, another easy way is just type in Marvin Wilkerson and you come up all over the place as well. And so that's good. You're located in Central Time. Are you in Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, you're in Nashville. Oh, okay. Because there's a review that says you're the best astrologer in, it starts with a B, and they have it in Hollywood community.
Brentwood.
Is that near Nashville?
Yes.
All right. Well, awesome. Okay. Well, Marvin, thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom. And it was the tip of the iceberg, folks, even though it feels like we skimmed through everything. It has been a wealth of information, encouragement, inspiration. And I think, you've done your job getting people to be curious, get started, feel renewed by all of their power they have within to create, and be excited about doing that. So thanks very much again, Marvin. It's been great.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for all the sharing and the work that you do to get the message out and help people to grow and evolve and come into that self-realization and responsibility for their creative lives.
Yeah, because it's true. When you do that, your life just flows and it feels like you're getting everything you want. It's easy. And one last little piece of advice I would like to also share with people is sometimes you're living exactly what you want to be living, and maybe you don't recognize it because the brain's kind of wired for us to always want more. But sometimes you're right where you need to be and want to be. So that's kind of what I've been going through. And so just also remember that piece. Okay, I'm going to end this for now, Marvin. And thank you again so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.